My name is Colonel Alexander Hamilton. Welcome to another installment of The Audacity of This. To the members of the Continental Congress, gentlemen, today I'm going to be presenting my case against not one, not two, but three, un, deux, trois, you heard me correctly, three little bitches that you need to be made aware of. It brings me a huge amount of shame to say that these men are generals. Generals. We would expect such disgrace from peasants and militiamen. But for a general to act in such a manner which is detrimental to the cause, our noble cause, that I cannot tolerate. Now let me catch my breath and count to what I am. A 10. These gentlemen go against everything that is honorable. As we know, honor is the watchword of our generation. That is H-O-N-O. You remove the U, King George. Are you serious? I thought it only right and proper that I do measure these three little on the imperial bitch scale. B-I-T-C-H-E-S on the B to the S, ranking them such because of their BS. I would therefore like to open up my argument with Thomas Conway. Thomas Conway is a gentleman who is true to his name. As in, he knows ways to con people for his own benefit. I reward Thomas Conway a T. We should do what we do best with tea and throw him in the harbor. Or better yet, put him on a boat back to Ireland. Recently, Mr. Conway was promoted to the non-existing post of Inspector General for the Army. Gifted with a silver tongue, it is a real shame that Mr. Conway's face resembles a clenched fist. He is a vain, boasting braggart, and he is a whiner. How can I put this? Mr. Conway's promotion to Inspector General has been met with universal disgust. This demonstration of whimsical favoritism from the Continental Congress in the promotion of Mr. Conway has irked the likes of General Knox and General Green. The big difference between the European counterpart armies and our own is that we do not have the nobility, the titles, and the aristocracy. All of our promotions within the Continental Army are based on triumph and personal gain, which is experienced, demonstrated, and shown on the field of battle. And therefore, here at Valley Forge, we are really trying to figure out why Mr. Conway deserves the title of Inspector General. Which I believe that is now being known to Mr. Conway that his importance in the army and that his merit and title resides completely within his own imagination rather than in the realms of reality. Things that are written remain. We have correspondence between Mr. Conway and General Gates noting Mr. Conway's dislike for General Washington's inner circle of sycophants and toadies. Is that what you think I am, Mr. Conway? A sycophant? What is that? What is that smell on the air? Ah, the sweet fumes of envy. Upon his arrival at Valley Forge on the 29th of December, Mr. Conway was met with a very cold reception, as in, he wasn't met at all. You see, being the immaculate daddy that General Washington is, he refused any correspondence between himself and Conway. While he was in camp, not only myself, not only Mr. John Lawrence, not only Mr. Tench Tillman, all three of us were ready to fight this little bitch in a duel after accusing His Excellency of ruling the camp like an absolute king. This is when the little bitch showed his real colors. Mr. Conway penned his resignation as his final last resort in order to garnish a flicker of attention. Knowing that this was a trap, His Excellency wrote, "It remains with Congress alone to accept your resignation." A wonderful poetic deflection of the bluff. Needless to say, gentlemen, we handled this infiltrating little bitch with the level of professionalism that you would expect from the Continental Army. Victory sip. However, it is now unfolded that he was part of a circle of little bitches. It turns out there was an entire cabal, this continuous cycle like the seasons of little bitches making themselves known, meeting other little bitches, and getting worse. What we call a circle jerk. And so, thus we move on to little bitch the second. Charles Lee. The British-born Charles Lee holds a simmering resentment about playing understudy to His Excellency, who Mr. Lee considers to be a tomahawk-wielding southern bumpkin. But I am an ardent believer that all little bitches get what's coming to them. For in mid-December, when General Lee stopped at a local tavern to pursue what he called a romp through Cupid's Grove. I repeat, a romp through Cupid's Grove. I'm just gonna let that euphemism sink in. He chose a brothel so close to the enemy territory that the outcome was inevitable. Rewarding this hubristic lunacy, Colonel Tarleton and 70 dragoon, after being tipped off by a local Tory spy, surrounded the tavern and then, releasing Lee from the clutches of his whore, marched the general out into the night wearing but his nightshirt and slippers. Is this truly the little that we want representing the reputation of the Continental Army? Need I remind you, gentlemen, that General Lee is second in command of the Continental Army behind His Excellency, but after this diabolical debacle, I can only see a clear-cut reason why we should refer to him as number 2. In light of this report, I reward General Lee on the Imperial scale a very solid H for how dare you. If I had to make an educated guess upon what ethos General Lee operates under, I would surmise that it would be, how would I know there would be consequences for my actions? As Charles Lee is currently being held hostage by the enemy, it is one little less that we have to worry about. However, there still remains, gentlemen, the question of what to do with General Horatio Gates. I'd like it to be known that I make it a personal habit of mine not to be acquainted with gentlemen who have the word whore in their Christian name. Now, I will not discredit General Gates' victory in October at the Battle of Saratoga. Where has the hero of Saratoga been since? He has been lingering around York, and he has been infecting and schmoozing with the delegates of the Continental Congress. But it has been known from the very beginning of the war that General Gates has been trying to usurp power from His Excellency and place himself as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, to such an extent that the Continental Congress has allowed him to form the Board of War. And in February, the delegates of the Continental Congress allowed this proposal, handing this newly birthed Board of War essentially the command of the army. And then, with this newly installed power, he has the audacity to compose a suicidal campaign to invade Canada. But he insists that Marquis de Lafayette leaves His Excellency's side of Valley Forge and leads this campaign. Not only that, he has the audacity to insist that Thomas Conway, that erroneous whiner, be second in command, knowing that when Thomas Conway fucks up, he will deflect all of his errors onto the Marquis. How? How are you not seeing the dangerous idiocracy of this man? I offer you a glimmer of hope and sanity from this trifecta of traitors. With much heartache, Marquis de Lafayette left Valley Forge and joined General Gates in the Board of War for a dinner. He requested 3 things. $200,000. Number 2, that all of his military reports would correctly go to His Excellency and then be passed on to Congress and the Board of War. Unlike General Gates, who in the past had reported to Congress over His Excellency first, which is absolutely raising a middle finger to the chain of command. Thirdly, that he would only allow an American or a French commander to be his second. And reiterate that if Thomas Conway was not dismissed, that he and his French allies would quit the colonies. Snap! And as a cherry on the top, the Marquis de Lafayette stood and insisted that General Gates and the other members of the Board of War raised a glass to the health and well-being of His Excellency, General George Washington. Thus, General Gates has found himself diplomatically and poetically trapped. And on the imperial scale of bitches, I will reward General Gates a very solid S for shut the fuck up. Gentlemen of the Continental Congress, I hope that you have found the evidence compelling in order to recognize the audacity of these little know that they are not the first, nor do I believe that they will be the last little bitches that I will verbally condemn. Next week, gentlemen, I will be addressing the issue of Arnold Benedict. What a dick. Until next time, I am Colonel Alexander Hamilton. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm not sure whether I need to stretch my legs or spread them. I remain your obedient servant.